Much like the rules for Fight Club, the first rule of tanking in professional sports is you don't talk about tanking. Teams will call it rebuilding, which has been the word that comes out Steve Ross, Chris Grier or Brian Flores' mouth every time the Miami Dolphins owner, general manager and rookie head coach talk about this new era. Tanking is purposely being bad with your sights set on a future prize, a dynamic talent like Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. That would be impossible to sell to a team full competitive professional athletes. Rebuilding, on the other hand, is strategically investing in your future, implying that the present is not being completely sacrificed. They're basically the same thing. They are just termed differently, and the bottom line is, the Dolphins are doing it. They just can't talk about the first one that involves Tagovailoa. What they can talk about is working off a 3-year blueprint with the goal of South Florida's NFL franchise turning the corner in 2021 on this construction project. How deep should the Dolphins' purge of the roster be as they undergo their rebuild? I say a scorched earth restart is justified. NFL teams already know the Dolphins are having what one executive called a fire sale, pointing out everything must go, and everyone in the NFL is aware of Miami's desire to have possession of the #1 overall pick in the 2020 draft. It's risky and dangerous, but worth it, another executive said. Problem is everyone has to be on board with making that type of sacrifice. He's referring to the owner, the personnel department, the coaching staff, the media, and the fan base. The Dolphins clearly have the first 3 covered. I've thoroughly reviewed the film for all the upper echelon quarterbacks coming out in the next 3 years, and there's no doubt in my mind that Tagovailoa is the best one, and that the Dolphins should do what it takes to get him. That means Flores' team must be the worst team in the NFL in 2019. We're talking 3 wins or worse bad. Even though I was against suck for luck in 2011, I'm totally on board with tank for Tua now because I can envision him holding up the Lombardi Trophy one day. With my intentions being made clear, I would sit out the first wave of free agency, and maybe the second one too if I was running the Dolphins this offseason. This is a demolition job. Next year, you'll see a groundbreaking with a young, promising quarterback. And hopefully in 2021 all the sacrifices the franchise and its fan base have made during the next 2 seasons will begin to pay off with a trip to the playoffs. But for now, do nothing in free agency. Make it a priority to sign Pro Bowl cornerback Xavier Howard to an extension by April, before the draft. Successful franchises lock up their best talents. If a deal can't be worked out with Howard, who should become one of the 5 highest-paid cornerbacks in the NFL, then trade him for a first-round pick the week of the draft because his value will never be higher than it is now. But outside of taking care of Howard, put Ross' wallet away. He's spent more cash than just about any other owner this past decade building a perennial 7-9 team. Grier convinced him that if he changed his approach, and stopped trying to win free agency, the Dolphins would be better off long-term. So it is time to begin this long and painful journey. Miami should bid on a couple of big fish like pass rusher Trey Flowers and linebacker C.J. and Anthony Barr, offering respectable but responsible deals to transformative players in their prime who could serve as a foundational pieces on defense. But the Dolphins shouldn't break the bank on those offers. Help set the market for Flowers, or raise the price on teams like the New England Patriots, ensuring that if they are going to remain in the AFC it's going to be a taxing experience. But the Dolphins should be sellers, not buyers this time around. Miami should release or trade anyone not on a rookie deal that makes more than $4 million, isn't owed guaranteed money, and can't benefit the franchise in 2021. Don't just stop with Andre Branch, Ted Larson and Danny Amendola, who were all released last week. Robert Quinn, Devontae Parker and Ryan Tannehill also have to go, and their removal will give Miami $76 million in cap space. Miami should aggressively try to move Josh Sitton, Kenny Stills, Rashad Jones and T.J. McDonald, taking whatever another team is willing to offer to take on their contracts, which all feature guaranteed money. If the Dolphins can't move them for a later round pick, then try again before the trade deadline. Otherwise, don't waste Ross money by just waiving these veterans. The bottom line is to create cap space by tearing down, but don't spend it now. It needs to be squirreled away for the next 2 off-seasons, which is possible because of CBA rules that allow teams to carry over cap space from previous years. Let Jawan James sign elsewhere unless he accepts a new contract that pays him $9 million a season for the first 3 years. Bring back Sam Young for the NFL minimum because he'll help the offensive line make it through the 2019 season, just like he did in 2017 as James's replacement. Wave goodbye to Cameron Wake, who deserves to finish his Ring of Honor career playing for a contender. Just hope it isn't New England. And Miami needs to fill out its roster by going bargain hunting, signing waived veterans like Dwayne Allen, who signed a 2-year, $7 million deal with Miami on Saturday, and players coming back from injuries like Quan Alexander that come at a discount. The Dolphins need to flip the team's 7 draft picks into 10, picking up a few extra selections on the 3rd day to fortify the team's young nucleus. And play young players like Isaiah Ford, Isaac Asiata and Kalen Ballage to see where their upside is. This approach could help discover some salvageable pieces, but likely won't lead to immediate success. However, that is exactly what Miami should be avoiding if we're doing what we're not supposed to be talking about.